Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. So Coach Jerod seems to be on a Yonex racket journey right now. I don't think he's gonna find nothing there. Stay tuned. Hey guys, do you need help organizing your tennis life? Well, think Go! We got the Axiom line here, the 9-pack duffel, my favorite bag, the 9-pack Axiom 2.0. They even make a 12-pack if you're going on tour. And my favorite backpack of all time. I love that bag. So if you want to organize your tennis life, think Go. All right, so Coach Jerod reached out and said, I want to try Ezone 98 Tour. And then he restrung his own, he restrung our demo of the Vcore 98 Tour, which we weren't very fond of. We were okay with it the first time. And then I was like, since we're doing kind of like the non-mainstream stuff, I thought I'd throw in the 95, which is one of my all-time favorites. We're gonna hit with it today. He's already hit with it some already, but we're gonna tell you which one is the best out of all the kind of non-mainstream outlier Yonexes. Coach Jerod thinks he likes Yonex, but I don't know, man. It's never kind of liked you, Coach.
Yeah, so. I agree. I agree.
Stay tuned. Just got off the court with the 3 outliers, non-mainstream. It's pretty specialized specialty. Vcore 95, Vcore 98 Tour, and Ezone 98 Tour. You kind of like these kind of outlier rackets because they're on the heavier side. They're pretty well balanced for that type of player. I want to say like a 4.5, 5.0. That's what these rackets were kind of made for. Coach Jerod, let's talk about the outlier of the Ezone line first, the Ezone 98 Tour. What did you think of that?
Yeah, so as you guys know, Ezone line is now endorsed by Ben Shelton, Kyrgios. Ruud, I guess, doesn't really fit that mold because he's more of a grinder player, which is kind of interesting. So I was about to say it's mostly used by big hitters, minus Ruud. I used to actually use the Ezone DR in college, and I don't think they actually had a tour model at the time. They only had the 98 Plus, which is another version. So if memory for me serves correct, I mean, Ezones are typically the more control-oriented racket that swings fast. You can tell by the shaft of the racket. It's kind of built a little bit more aerodynamic, so it swings to the court a little bit quicker. At the same time, it's a little bit slightly more control-oriented than the Vcore line, which I think is slightly stiffer and adds a little bit more responsiveness. So I was kind of excited to test this out. Again, I actually haven't used the Ezone in a tour form, and I think the weight on this stick actually helps kind of push the ball a little bit further than usual. The only thing I will say, though, is they also kind of widened, I guess, the 3 and 9 positions on this racket per se, because I think I also compared this to the regular 98, and it wasn't as wide, which is interesting. So I'm not sure if that's just, again, just me looking at it and kind of thinking that, or if that's actually the case. But I did find that if you do make perfect contact with this stick, the ball does travel well. But it also kind of, for me, I think I was lagging a little bit on my forehand, especially when I was actually pulled out wide. At the same time, you kind of have to, again, with this stick specifically, kind of, again, elongate your strokes. If you kind of finish too early, I think the ball will kind of just sit there with a ton of spin, doesn't really go through the court. So you have to make sure you're kind of pushing the weight and using the weight to get the ball through the court. But overall, I mean, you know, the E-zones are typically just known for being slightly control-oriented stick out of the line, as well as kind of being plush and very comfortable on the arm. So again, very soft racket, very comfortable, and that was kind of my experience with this one.
Did you like it?
Yes, in terms of feel, I always liked how this racket swung, but in terms of kind of for my game style, I don't think it really suits me anymore these days. I look to play try to play aggressive tennis and keep the points short, and unfortunately, I just don't think I have the confidence to play that kind of tennis with this stick. If that makes sense.
You think it'll fly a little on you?
Maybe fly, and then kind of just me thinking about just hitting it in a certain way, and I get in my head about stuff, and then sometimes the ball might sit, sometimes the ball might go, and I just don't think I can be consistent enough with the stick itself.
Got it. So it's playing head games with you.
Pretty much,
Okay.
exactly.
What about the Vcore 98 Tour?
Yeah, so the Vcore 98 Tour, we recently just did a video on this stick. After doing a little more hitting with this, I think the racket actually does play pretty well. Definitely the more responsive stick compared to the Ezone Tour. One thing I will say too is I think the isometric head shape is a lot more pronounced on this one, because as you can tell, it definitely looks more like that kind of ovalish kind of shape. And I think actually at the 2 and 11 positions, they actually extended out that part of the frames to actually try to get you a little more pop on the stick. This one, I think, actually might have also lagged a little bit more than the Ezone Tour, in my opinion, because the head's a little bit larger, so you kind of have to get the stick kind of through a little bit quicker. But if you have fast enough hands for it and kind of just want to use the weight of this racket, I think it hits extremely well. The other thing I will say is serves are unbelievable with this frame. I don't know if it's because, again, they just opened up the 2 and 11 positions, or if they made this kind of more responsive, but I was seeing some monster serves, huge kick serves, and it felt great on the volleys. But overall, I mean, yeah, I haven't really tried out the Vcore line back in the day because I just never went with the stick, but I was kind of, impressed with this overall frame. And if you want to have a Vcore 98 that has a little bit more weight and a little bit more plowed, this would be a good option. But again, for you guys out there, just got to be able to swing it.
So when you say larger head, you mean just the extension out here, not larger in terms of square inch?
Yeah, not square inches. I think they just kind of just made it a little bit, pulled out.
Extended the sweet spot on the higher side.
Yeah, so you can definitely feel that the sweet spot's opened up a little bit. I will say that there are some dead spots in the stick on certain areas. I couldn't really pinpoint where they were, but as long as you make perfect contact in the sweet spot and kind of just trust your stroke, the ball will go pretty well off this frame.
So you're telling me you can't trust this one either?
Probably not. Sorry, guys.
All right. Now, the 95, you added lead to at 3 and 9, which a lot of people do, I have to say.
Yes.
Okay.
So I used to play with the only 95 that I played with in the past was the 6-1 95 18 by 20. So I think when I was asking about some Yonex sticks, you randomly pulled this out. You're like, hey, this might be hard for you to use, but just give it a shot, see how it goes, and see how it plays. This one was extremely responsive. I could hit some really good shots with this. For a 95 square inch size racket, this does not feel like a 95, which is crazy. And again, what Yonex also did was also, again, built out the kind of 2 and 11 position, so I think that's why the stick doesn't feel like a 95. The biggest difference between this one and the Vcore 98 and Vcore 98 Tour is that these are 16 by 19 patterns. This is a 16 by 20. So I actually did not like 16 by 20s in the past when I tried them out, but for some reason it works extremely well with this stick. So I was able to crack some good forehands, backhands went pretty well. My chip backhand, I never make comments about that shot, but that thing was cutting through the court very well too. But the only thing too is, as with most of these rackets, trusting the shot is the most important thing, because you need to commit with a 95, because even though it doesn't feel like a 95, it still plays like a 95. So I just thought that trying to add some weight at 3 and 9 would kind of make it a little more stable and kind of let me trust the shot a little bit more. And I will say that this definitely adds a lot more plow to the stick, so I'm even hitting even bigger But then, adding the weight adds a little bit more power, in my opinion. So I was kind of spraying just the regular shots a little bit deep, whereas the running shots were a lot better because I, again, had that weight to help me swing through the court a little bit more.
Right.
But yeah, this stick was super fun. I see why a bunch of people are raving about it because also for a 95, the spin potential on this thing is insane.
For a 95.
For a 95 square inch head size racket, because it's crazy how much spin you can get and the ball jumps, and at the same time, serves and volleys are also super comfortable. And yeah, also very comfortable frame overall, so not jarring on the arm at all, and overall it was super fun to play test. So I'm glad you had me try this one out too.
He didn't ask for it.
No, I did not.
We wanted to just test these two, but I threw that one in there just because I just know him, and I know me, and because we know each other like that, I was like, yeah, that one's got to get in the mix.
Yep.
So out of the three, if you had to play a match, which one would you choose?
If I was going for risky tennis and wanting to risk me playing super well and just hitting insane shots, I'm going with a 95 all day. But if I'm going a little bit more reserved and kind of trusting the shot a little more and trying to play that grindy style, I might go with the Vcore Tour actually. Because I can just get a little bit more depth, a little bit more spin. I'm not saying this isn't a spin monster at all either, but it's just I think I just get a little bit more response from the Vcore line overall, and it's just been fun testing these rackets overall. So, but again, Ezone, for all you guys out there looking for another racket, very comfortable, very plush, and definitely Yonex, I think, is in terms of quality is top notch as well. So you can't go wrong with any stick that you're looking at from their company.
So I agree with almost everything you said. This one actually has a little more plow for me. It comes through. When you let it go, it just kind of takes off, and then you gotta okay, hold on there, and then you gotta prepare to throw it up because it's gonna want to keep going. This one, it wasn't as bad as the first time, I have to say. It was actually not bad the second time.
Yes. Maybe
it was the string or what, but it played better today than it did the first time a few weeks ago. Still just okay though, not wonderful. I was expecting more like this one. Like if they put this one in this size head with this balance, this feel, but just a slightly bigger head, maybe with a 1620, or it is already 1620.
This is 1619, that one's 1620.
Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't wrong. Okay, all right. But it needs to have more characteristics like this. I feel like, yeah. There's just something magical about these 95s. It's kind of always been that way. I mean, back to the original ones that they made on this. The 95 has always been a very consistently good racket. I would choose this one all day long. All day long. I would not even consider these.
And guys, I have to say, Harry was hitting the cleanest of the 95 out of all of these. So, it's not wrong.
See? Told you. All right, but that was fun. That was fun. I just, I always love to bring the 95 out and then test it to, the other outliers. Coach Jerod, thank you so much for doing the test.
Of course.
Where can we find you, bud?
You guys follow me on Instagram at ModTennis and follow my joint Instagram at KJTennis.
All right. So you actually restrung these at it's Otoro.
Yep.
Otoro felt great in these guys. Try out your Otoro. Okay. Thank you, Eric, for all these strings that we can string it up with and just keep testing. All right, guys. Thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis.